what is that thing of joy? You know, sometimes I think of this image of an orgasm is like the soap in the bath. The more you try to grab it, the more it escapes from you. Joy is also something that if you're really, I want joy, I need joy, then it evades you. Joy is something that happens to you as a byproduct, as a secondary effect from something else, you know. You cannot build joy. Okay, I'm gonna, you know, have this joyful experience. If you're too gang-ho about it, then it's gonna evade you, you know, very quickly. You can have a bit of joy, but then very quickly it's gonna go. And there's also like signs of joy, but none of these signs is a complete certainty that somebody's joy. If you hear somebody laughing, they can be laughing out of fear. They can be laughing not to cry. They can be even laughing of anger, you know. We all know the laughter, right? So what is joy? How do you pinpoint that now I'm joyful in this moment? It's very hard to describe that state, you know. You can do it better through metaphors. Maybe a neurologist can tell, well, joyful experience is when you have this percentage of this hormone running in your blood. But that's not my field. That's not how I measure it. I think we humans have a bullshit sensor for joy, and we know, if we're really connected, we know, okay, this person wants to appear to be joyful, but they're not, you know. Or this person seems to be always like with a grumpy face, but there's often joyful moments in them, you know. I know Russians that can have like a grumpy face, but there's a kind of a freedom in it, and you can find joy in it. So I hate this image of, for instance, also in the clown, like the clown is always a happy character, you know. A lot of great clowns, mythic clowns that we had, were sad clowns, you know. Like, for instance, Charlie Revel, his main state was a state of sad, especially the older he got and the funnier he got. And his known moment that everybody knew was in the howl, when he went like, and everybody loved and laughed in that moment when he was crying. Joy is a state that happens when you are careless, often when you don't have responsibilities on your shoulder, or at least you forget them for a moment. I think if you're thinking too much, you will hardly be feeling joy. So I feel that there needs to be a kind of a easing of the thinking speed. So that's something we do in the workshops as well. We kind of find ways of interrupting your normal train of thoughts so that the brain, after a couple of experiences like that, goes, breakdown. I cannot follow you there, babes. So whatever you're doing, you're on your own. And then we go like, yes, now it's the time to start really having fun, right? There's also a difference between joy and pleasure, you know, because you can be having pleasure with stuff that are not joyful, you know. Sadomaso rings a bell. I mean, there's a lot of ways of for instance, a philosopher can be in a state of pleasure trying to find a concept for months and not getting it, and be like a hunter or an animal. If you see a cat chasing a prey, the state of tension is so big, but there is a sense of pleasure there. But is that joyful? I'm not sure. I feel joy is something where you just expand. You're in an expansion mode, and there's a lightness often, onto it. Joy is also something that can appear in unsuspected moments. Sometimes people are crying and suddenly they have a burst of joy in the middle of it. I think like in the workshop, one thing that I always try that people experience is that once you remove the layers of other emotions that you have, you know, once you feel protected by anger, and that allows you to go through the fear, and then you just touch sadness and you soften up, the deepest layer, if you just go through all the others, is a layer of joy. I like to believe that. And my experience is that once you open all the other layers, the last present you have is joy. And I'm not talking about hilarious joy. I'm talking it's just a joy that is a state like a appreciation of everything, yeah? But not because I'm above, or it's because I'm really tasting every little second of every little experience. Yeah? And I accept the sadness when it comes, I accept the anger when it comes, I accept the fear when it comes, but I know that in the bottom of it all there's this, I'm alive. Yeah.